next question is kind of a series of questions, and I guess I'd kind of like you to take this, wherever you like to, I suppose. You've now been in Renaissance for around 40 years. When you look back over the history and trajectory of the band, what kind of stands out the most? At that time, I guess, what were your and the band's musical goals and visions, and how has that evolved over time?
Right. Well, I think things that stand out in my mind was just before I joined the band, I was working in a cabaret group called The Gentle People. The guitarist said, Annie, he said, you're wasted here. Your voice it's not a cabaret voice. It's something else. And he said, I've just seen this ad in the Melody Maker, and it was for the girl singer for an international pop group or something like that. He said, please go for the audition. So what I did is I called up and I found out that it was Renaissance, because that's what you call it in England, and France, of course, with an accent. And I gave them my name, and I got an audition together, and then I went and bought the album, which was called Kings and Queens, the first album, and I learnt everything on it. And I went down there to Weybridge in Addlestone in Surrey, I think it was. Mickey lived in Addlestone at the time, and no, he lived in Addlestone, and it was a church hall in Weybridge, which was just down the road. And I went there for the audition on December 31st, 1970. It was on New Year's Eve. And Keith Ralph and Jim McCarthy were there from the Yardbirds, because they were still involved in it. They started Renaissance originally. You know that, don't you? Right. And so they were still involved, and they wanted to see who. And actually, there had been somebody else in the band before me, two singers. Keith Ralph's sister was in for a short while, and then she left, and then a girl called Binky came in, and then I don't know why she left, but anyway, I'm glad she did, of course. And so they wanted to be there to make sure that the person that was going to get the job was going to have the right voice and everything. So I went there, and I've got long brown hair parted in the middle with a floor-length tapestry coat. So I was the part, you know what I mean?
Very nice.
And they asked me to sing a song called Island. And so we did that song, and everybody, all of them just flipped. They just said, immediately, we'll let you know tomorrow, and they called me up first thing in the morning, and you've got the job. So that was extremely memorable. And the other thing that was really memorable, I mean, there were a few changes in the band from then until 1973, which is when John Tout and I were everybody was fired except me and John Tout, and Mickey Dunford was kept on as writer. And that's when we brought in John Camp and Terry, and the band changed again over different people around that period until 73. It was the band. It became the band with five was John, Terry, Mickey, and myself. But the interesting thing is, I remember things click now. Now I'm older of things that happened. I didn't realize that I joined in 71. And in 75, within 4 years, we were playing in Carnegie Hall.
That's incredible.
Isn't it really? And,
yeah.
I didn't... All these different things come to me every now and again. I think, hang on a minute, that's only 4 years. How do we do that? And it was just it was at the right time, the right place, the music business. Miles Copeland at that time was our manager. And then John Scher took over managing us, who was a well-known concert promoter in New Jersey. He had the Capitol Passaic, and so it was just everything was right. Once we got the band, the 5 people there, that was the band, that was going to take it everywhere. And so, of course, my gosh, we did 3 nights in Carnegie Hall. I mean, I'm getting choked up inside thinking about it. It was unbelievable, and all our fans dressed up.
Very cool.
They all dressed up for it, because it was Carnegie Hall. Everybody was dressed up in ties and dicky bows and suits, and oh my gosh, it was incredible. And we had there was a party for us at a club called Ashley's in New York, and it was quite a famous club. Because I'm not really a club person, I don't, never have been, but I went because we were all together. Obviously, when you're in a band, there's certain things you do, but
Of course.
we went to this, and I remember dancing, I don't know how many hours with Terry Sullivan, because he's a great dancer. He's a great jiver. It's just fantastic, jiving. And we just danced for hours. And then people would bring over glasses of champagne. We're drinking champagne and dancing at the same time.
Very nice.
Oh, it was wonderful. And it was just, those kind of things are priceless, and just priceless memories. And then, over the years we did, the music was just fantastic. And Michael was really the main writer, but also the other guys did help write some of the pieces as well. Then Terry Sullivan wrote a beautiful song in memory of his father called "Forever Changing," and that always stands in my mind. I lost my father not too long before that, so we both lost our fathers, and he'd written this incredible piece of music. And then we did, Scheherazade. Oh my God, when we did Scheherazade, that was unbelievable.
Of course.
That was just, oh my God, and recording it, and just the experience of recording it. It was just a great album, but the piece itself. And when we got together in 2009. In 2011 we went on the road over here. We've been stuck on the East Coast, unfortunately, because of finances,
Right.
because we're trying to come up with creative ways to change that. But what we did on that tour, one of the tours, is we played the whole of Turn of the Cards and the whole of Scheherazade live.
Correct.
And the band did a phenomenal job. I mean, I remember Mickey saying, "I wonder what do you think Raven and everybody will think if we ask them to do Scheherazade?" I went, "Oh, you better ask them." And it was a real challenge. And Jason was the other keyboard. Jason Hart was the other keyboard player, and he went, "Oh my!" But they were all up for it, and they all did a magnificent job. And gosh. So that was another incredible experience, and just recording with the orchestra, and then when we did the Albert Hall in '78, and that was another incredible time, and then we had a hit single with Northern Lights,
Mm-hmm.
and then we kind of, after that, there was pressure on us, a little bit of pressure on us from the record label, to come up with something more commercial.
Sure.
And then the next album, which was As You Adore, was the change. That was when we started to change, and I believe we had David Henschel came in to produce it. He'd worked with Genesis, and so there were some things on As You Adore that I wasn't all that happy with, whereas all the other albums were phenomenal and with ease, just were easy to listen to. Everything was perfect,
Right.
It perfectly go from one song into another. They all fit beautifully. But this album, there were some nice songs, but they were like songs. I mean, I think Flood at Leon was on there, and Secret Mission I thought was really good. But I think Flood at Leon was fabulous. But that wasn't enough for me on that album. And then it did okay. Did nothing like the other albums. And also, then we changed labels to IRS. And then we changed, we were led down a different path, I followed. I wasn't the one who at that point I wasn't involved in the music business, the business side of things, or I just felt that, I didn't write the songs, and I don't play an instrument, so I just felt that, let them do it because they know what they're doing, and I really should have spoken up because I knew, I could feel inside that something wasn't going to be right, it wasn't going the right way.
Sure.
And so we did Camera, and then we did Timeline, and then there were some good songs, but they were just songs.
Right.
There was nothing special, and there were songs that anybody could sing, whereas everything else was songs that nobody else could sing.
Right.
Because they were written for a different reason. This was, in fact, I don't even know if there was a reason that they were writing those songs, because I think they just came easily, and it was just a natural progression from album to album. But I think with the newer ones, it was like, oh well, there is a reason now. We've got to start trying. We've got to try and come up with hit singles, and that we never thought that way. That's why it worked.
Right.
We just let all the creative stuff come out, and it was beautiful. And then the business stuff came in, and the pressure, and it all, and of course hit singles. What's that to do with? Well, it's money, isn't it? And once money starts coming into the picture, then everything looks different, and that's what happened. It changed. It was no good anymore. It just wasn't, it wasn't right. And we changed the band around after we played in Israel, and we had a thing that happened, and which was a bit distressing. And so after that, we just changed the band around, and then we went out with the three of us, and after that, it was just downhill, really.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what though, with this recent release, I mean, I was floored by the newest album, and I think that whether or not we went through a little bit of a commercial period.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are on it right now. I mean, I would say some of the greatest songs of the career have been showing up on this last album, I think. And,
thank you.
I'd like to congratulate you for that. It's been phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I'm really proud of it, and I think that, the thing is, it was interesting that they were so different, the songs, but and as John Wetton says, it said it all works, and that's right. What everybody. And some people were saying, Porcelain, we weren't sure about that one, and I was watching when they were working on the beginning of it, and we were in the studio. I was looking at something online, and it was some African music, and I thought, oh wow, and I said, hang on a minute, guys, I said, come and listen to this. I said, why don't we turn this into a song that, I've got some ideas, and the strangest thing, the title came, this is really weird, this is really weird. Mickey and I were in a shop, funnily enough, called Annie Says. It's I don't know if it's on the West Coast, but it's a dress shop, and we were in there. He wanted to buy something, a gift for his wife Claire, and I was just looking around. We were in this shop, and started talking to this woman somehow. I think she heard Mickey and I talking and said to Mickey, "Oh, you're English," and blah blah. And started talking, and then she said, "Oh, my daughter's doing something, and she's written something, and it had porcelain in the title, and it said something porcelain." And I looked at Mickey and I went, "Oh my God, what a beautiful word that is."
Very cool.
And I thought, and I wrote it down, and that's where the name. And I thought, oh, and then when they were playing in the studio and doing the rhythms at the beginning, I thought, I think we should take Mickey. Let's not just do it as a song. Let's make it into an African song, and so we did. And that's how Porcelain was born.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very very weird way of coming up with an idea, because it was it was in somebody else's idea, really.
Right.
But and funny enough, it's not funny at all. But I remember Mickey did before we made it into the African feel, put the African feel on it, and that drum at the beginning, which at the beginning when they started doing it in the studio, it was all drums. It was a whole different thing. I didn't like it. It just wasn't right. It didn't have a feel to it that was moving to me. But anyway, Mickey did a garage band thing of it earlier that he'd given me, and he just sang Porcelain in the background, and that's all he did. He was, ooh, porcelain, or whatever. And when it came to doing the real vocals, we said, oh, well, we'll put, the real vocals on. And one of the things Mickey said was, I want my vocals left on there. Funnily enough, they're the only vocals that he did on the album. He didn't do any others. There were no other vocals. Yeah. So yeah, because he went home a couple of times during that period to see his family when we did the vocals. So he was okay with not being. His voice wasn't as strong as the others, but it did have a timbre to it that you could tell it was Mickey, and it was very good for blending in.
Right.
And it was different. But he was okay with that. But he said, just don't take my vocals off Porcelain, and that was the only one in the end that he was on. But
very cool.
and a lot of people said we really love Porcelain, and so that was interesting because I thought people were going to really go. Well, they did. I mean, they go for the others as well, and also Mystic and the Muse. I mean, that was another one when we did with Steve Hackett. A standing ovation. It was like, whoa. Right. And we played it in Old Quebec City. We did a festival there, and Roger Hodgson was on the night before. It was on the big stage apparently, and it was the place was packed. That was the big stage. Our stage was like 5,000 people, but still a great big stage. A wonderful place. And we went on before Steve Hackett, and it was I'll never forget it. It was just an incredible experience. And when we finished Mystic and the Muse, I was looking at them. Mickey was, people were kind of just staring. You could see that because they'd never heard it before.
Right.
And they were just like blown away by it, and it just couldn't stop clapping. It was amazing.
Very cool.
And we just went on another thing that happened, which was a great experience recently, was this Cruise to the Edge that we did this year. And I don't know if you heard. You know what that was?
Yeah, it's the one. I think Yes was headlining it. There's a bunch of. There's quite a large lineup.
It was just. I could write a book about it actually, but it was fabulous. It was like a floating festival, and considering all the bands and everything that they had to deal with, and all the people, the fans, it ran so well, and everybody got on with each other. I wish that I could at the time to go and see some of the other bands, but I was more involved in getting ready for the next thing that I had to do. But it was. We were supposed to go to Roatan in Honduras, the first stop, and we boarded on the Monday, and the Tuesday they changed everything around, and now we were going to be playing the first major show of ours inside in the beautiful theatre inside, 1,500 people on the Tuesday. As we went on, just before we went on stage, about an hour before. There was all other kinds of things going on. Like UK, we're going to be doing a storyteller thing on the pool stage, and that was cancelled because we started to go into a storm.
Oh.
So, but we didn't know that. I mean, we knew that the boat was going from side to side.
Right.
So anyway, we go on stage, and the place is packed, and we're going from side to side. I grab hold of the microphone stand. I had to hang on to it the whole time.
Wow.
Dave Keys looked like he was having a shit on the stage because he had to bend down like he was in the crouching toilet position to hold himself in place with his bass, And it wasn't scary. It was funny.
It sounds scary.
It was. I mean, there's no way the boat was going down, but I just didn't want to be sick. But I had those wristbands on that work. They're phenomenal, I tell you. And so we did. The same thing happened with the Mystic and the Muse, and Symphony of Light just went crazy. But I had to hold on to that mic. I let hold of the microphone stand once, and it nearly fell over because I can't fall because of my back. I've still got this compression in my vertebra. But so we did that, and everybody went crazy. And then we got a message the next morning that we were not going to Honduras because the storm was worse, and so we went away towards Cozumel instead, and we were going to spend 2 days there instead. So we did that show, and that was it was wonderful. It was such a great feeling. And then 2 days later, I did a storyteller thing with Ray, Jason, and Dave, and that was fun. And then I did a thing with my art, and then we did a photo session thing. We had to keep thinking. We had to every day there was something to deal with, And then we had 2 concerts to do. and both were only an hour and 15 minutes. Originally, we were supposed to be 2 hours for each show, but we were cut down. Everybody's show was cut down.
Yeah.
But with the pool stage, on the what they did, they covered the pool over, and they have seats there and everything. And it was a big stage, but it wasn't covered. It had no sides, had no roof.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that we went on, which was the Thursday, I think it was like 60-mile-an-hour winds, I would say. So I went down to get ready for the show, and everything was run clockwork. They did a great job of that. I went down, and I went to get up on stage, and I had a dress on, and the dress was going up over my head. And
wow.
my hair was on the other side of the boat, So I had to go back to my cabin and change into pants. Well, I did have black pants with me. I had a black top. It was not really anything for a show, because I always like to dress. No matter where I am, I like to dress up,
sure.
Nice. I'm not a jeans person when I go on stage or anything like that. So what I did, and then I did have a painted cap that I was going to put in the auction, and I hadn't done it, and thank God I hadn't. I tied my hair back, and I put this painted cap on my head. I pinned it down, but I had to hold it as well because the wind was that bad that it was ripping the hat off my head. So we go on. We had to play. I had my hand on my head for an hour and a quarter.
Uh-huh.
I had my hand cupped over my microphone so that the wind wouldn't go into my microphone. Right. And so that the wind wouldn't, also hoping the wind wouldn't go into my mouth, because it would have blown me up like a black balloon, and I wouldn't be talking to you now. I'd be halfway to Brazil. A big black balloon,
Right.
Oh, my God. And then rave, that advert for Memorex?
No, I don't.
Well, there's an ad. It's been on television years ago. It shows this guy sitting. He's a guy at a Bauhaus, and he's sitting in this chair, this armchair, and the wind's blowing. It's the noise from the speakers, actually, from the Memorex. It's blowing his hair and everything, and he can't, and everything. His hair, his clothes, and everything are being blown back. And so Ray, that's what Ray, the keyboard player, looked like. And the drummer, his cymbals were going up vertical, horizontal, all over the place. Rich, the guitarist, had music on a stand, and that blew off of me.
Wow.
and then somebody shouts, and it's actually, if you go to a Renaissance Facebook page, it's Facebook Renaissance Touring, I put a little snippet of a video of me introducing Symphony of Light, and you'll see the wind. It's just hilarious, and so somebody shouted out. So I said, "What was that?" And this is a bit I put on Facebook. I said, "What was that? Do I need another sandbag, Annie?" And then I said to the audience, "God, I haven't been asked that for years. Do you need another sandbag, Annie?"
Wow.
And
That's pretty funny.
So my microphone stand, all the stands were surrounded by all these weights.
Yeah.
And I'm not all that big really, only 5'2". So I mean, it was a bit scary. It was a bit scary that I was going to be lifted off my feet. It was that strong. But we did a great show. Same thing with the Symphony of Light. But we did Ocean Gypsy, and when we did Ocean Gypsy, somebody pointed up, and all the clouds parted, and there was the moon shining down on us.
Very cool.
Oh, it was amazing. We had a fantastic time. I just wish it could have gone on forever. It was one of the highlights, I think. It was great for the band. It was how amazing for fans of any kind of music, really.
Right.
And it was so reasonable, the pricing, to go spend 5 days on a boat and see, it was 26 bands, to see all your favorite bands in one spot.
Right.
So there were people from Peru, China, all over the world that couldn't, have always loved Renaissance, could never get to see us. I mean, of course, there's a lot more that can't afford to go on a cruise, but it was so reasonable. You had to get to Miami, though. That's where it went from. But
for sure.
Oh, it was incredible.
Very cool.
Never forget it. Never forget it as long as I live. It was great for the band, and that's one of the outstanding things recently that's come about. So, when Michael died, which was such a shock. He was my friend for 41 years apart from anything else, and he left a wife and 2 young sons, and it was devastating, and I wasn't sure what to do, but I knew that I had to carry on, but I knew I would, because we'd just done a new album. People needed to hear this album live.
Of course.
And it needs to, it's. I think it's an album that people are they'll start knowing about soon. They don't know about it yet. We've got this distribution deal. We're trying to get to Europe. That's what we're aiming to do right now, is to get to get to the West Coast. Now I know that there's the Baja Prog, isn't there?
Yeah. I've been for the last few years. It's an incredible festival. I hope to see you guys there actually sometime.
Well, I was supposed to be doing an interview with Roberto, who's one of the. This was last week, but they were having flooding and terrible things going on down there with the weather. So we had to cancel it, because he said he wasn't. They were just about to lose internet and power and everything. So, but well, yeah. I mean, if we could get to that, then we could. Then we could. We're already there, and we can do some shows there. We'll make it happen somehow. Right. But it's just with the 6 people in the band. Excuse me, and 2 crews, so that's 8 people that we've got to fly. Either we fly or we get a Sprinter. It's just so expensive. Right. The band hasn't played in the West Coast for so long that promoters, and most of them are younger now. How they're going to take a chance on us? That's the thing. Right.
Well, I hope we can make it work. I'd really love to see you guys out here in the West, either at the Baja or or somewhere else. Would be great.
Yeah.
But we'll see how things go, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that I get to do this interview with Roberto again, and I'm just going to ask him outright, can we come and do bring us out there?
Right.
So.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. Did I answer that question?
Very
all
good.
right?
No, you did. Fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, I know I've taken a lot of your time up till now, but let me just tell you, it's been a joy and a pleasure talking with you. I really enjoyed being able to talk with you a little bit about the newest stuff. Loved your artwork on the new album. Loved the music. Thank you so much. Well, there you have it. That's Annie Haslam from the legendary progressive rock band Renaissance. Make sure to check out their new album, Symphony of Light, as well as their Facebook page, facebook.com/Renaissance Touring, and their regular homepage, renaissancetouring.com. Additionally, you can check out Annie Haslam's artwork at anniehaslam.com. And finally, a big thanks goes out to Annie Haslam for interviewing with us here on Progulator. Make sure to check out Progulator.com for CD and DVD reviews, as well as interviews with your favorite prog rock artists.
Swept up and flying, saintly and free, we can open the door, recapture those dreams.
Trusting the stairway that leads to your heart is a memory frozen in time. Are we playing or acting this in our minds?
Older and wiser.